now? Are we live yet? Oh, here you go.
Yeah,
Live.
we are live. Facebook and YouTube now.
All right,
So-
beautiful.
Beautiful. Hello,
Well,
everyone.
good afternoon, gentlemen. How are we all?
We've got a massive
good.
stream for everyone today. All right, sweet. Let's get straight into it. I'm going to share something on the screen. Taser, you probably won't be able to see this until you get home. But basically, we have seen in Victoria 216 new COVID-19 cases. Right. How does everyone feel about this? What can be done? Dan Andrews, a great premier.
Chairman Dan the man, whatever you want to call him. Yeah, I reckon before the second lockdown, he was doing pretty good, right? But then when he hired the security firm, kind of pretty much shows the problem with government outsourcing. He should have just got the police and the army, who are better trained to do it. So yeah, it's not a good look for him. He does say he takes responsibility, but say that to all the small businesses who are losing all the money now. Because I went along my local shopping strip this morning, and it was pretty empty. There's a few people getting takeaway, but they're getting hit hard again. And I know I've talked to some of the owners; they're not happy. They're really annoyed because things were starting to get back to normal, right? And then suddenly back to square one. So I wonder if this will affect his election chances, because in 2018, the state election, he won by such a huge landslide. There was a massive swing towards Labor. And so based on that, a lot of people were thinking, they're going to be in power for at least another few more terms, right? Maybe another 8 years or something. I wonder, the election, the state election is still a couple of years away. So maybe people will forget about it, or they'll forgive him, or maybe
I don't know if they'll forget
maybe he'll
about it.
redeem himself. Well, people seem to forgive or forget about what ScoMo did, leaving the country while the
That's true.
place was on fire. And his popularity, his approval rating is still higher than Anthony Albanese's, right? And they almost won the by-election in Edinburgh. So who knows?
That's true. You're putting some good facts forward, but I personally, in my opinion, I think this might have cost him his re-election, or maybe he probably won't put himself forward for re-election.
No, he won't put himself forward for re-election. He's not going to give up power like that. He's not going to do that. Remember, he won a massive.
Do you think he's a power maniac, or do you think he's?
No, he's premier, right? He's premier. He won the election in 2018. Okay, in 2014, he's not going to just because he made a mistake. He's not going to say, "I'm going to step down," right? Gladys Berejiklian, the whole Princess Ruby scandal. Okay, she did the same thing. That was a massive mistake on the Liberal state government. She's not going to resign, right? She's going to recontest for the next election. Right, so Victorian state government and the New South Wales state government, they've both done some stuff ups, and that's actually cost lives, right? Yeah, but he still might win the next election, because remember, he won a lot more seats in the 2018 state election than 2014, so it's still a big uphill battle for the Liberals.
I don't think it's a bit too early to say that it's cost him the next election, because it is still 2 years away, and the voters forget about very quickly, as you said with Scott Morrison. But I'm not actually happy with his response to the security guard fiasco. He hasn't actually properly addressed why he was the only state to not use the army. Every other state premier decided to use the army to quarantine new patients or people coming from overseas, and him and his health minister have just refused. They've just blocked the question and just said, "Oh, it's not time to talk about this." But I don't know why, but that's at least address the issue and say, and give reasons why. I can't actually see a proper reason, because it would have been more expensive, and obviously they're not as well trained. And on top of that, the security guard who was involved with having sex with the patients, he hasn't been outed. He should be facing criminal prosecution, but he's not. Well, at this point, I'm not 100% sure, but from what I read, I tried to read up about it yesterday, tried to figure out who it actually was. They haven't released his name or said whether he's facing charges or anything. They just generally said he's been stuff up.
Yeah, but he did say, Daniel Andrews did say, because he got interviewed by Virginia Vitrioli on ABC last night. If you've watched it, he did say that those security guards, they're no longer involved in with the security firm, but he did say, he did say again, he did say that, he did say that they're going to investigate it in an independent judicial inquiry. But yeah, again, I agree with you. I have no idea why he got a security firm to do it instead of the army and the police. Yeah, he hasn't given a reason, as Tom said, and it's still, I don't know how you can rationalise that.
Why don't you reckon he hasn't utilised the Australian Defence Force? Do you think he just got?
I don't know.
There's literally no reason. It's not cheaper. It's not.
Who knows, man? Yeah. I mean, he probably has a reason, but he's not going to give it. He's going to leave it up to the judicial inquiry to do that. And to be fair, even in other states, they have used security firms to kind of not to actually guard the hotel quarantine, but to help escort people off planes who were coming back into the country, into the hotels. So security firms have been involved, but not to the same extent that Daniel Andrews did. So yeah, we don't know. None of us know. And we're not going to know any reason until
only Chairman Dan knows. He only knows what's going on.
Chairman Dan.
You're never gonna find out what's really going on.
I mean,
what would you think, Taylor? Do you think he needs to take some accountability?
From my side of things, I think you got to ask yourself, what has Victoria done wrong? Like, why are we the only state back in lockdown? So obviously we've done something wrong along the way. From my perspective, I feel as if Daniel Andrews was too busy trying to rekindle our relationship with China, and he was too focused on that than our own health and safety of the people.
Was he really too busy with China? Like, how was he doing that? So. How was he doing that?
He signed our roads off to them and all that.
Remember that was a non-binding agreement, right? And to be fair, the media's been attacking him a lot more than they did to the Liberal government in about 2016, when Malcolm Turnbull did the exact same thing with China, but he didn't even disclose the information. With Daniel Andrews, there was a non-binding agreement, unlike Malcolm Turnbull's, and it was actually disclosed. You could actually look up what was signed in information.
Yes.
So I think
it's
been unfavourable media coverage of Dan Andrews. So I think you're wrong that he's been too preoccupied with China. Because
I think that's played a part.
He did what? He signed one non-binding agreement, and you can say what you want about the.
I agree with you. I agree with you. What I'm saying is we're in a crisis. Why are we worrying about signing our roads off and building stuff and giving to China? We're in a crisis. We can't even save our own country. And we're too busy worrying about rekindling the relationship with China when we should be, the Victorian citizens, the Australian citizens. Why don't we worry about their health and safety, the small businesses getting them back on the road?
That before. I think he signed the non-binding agreement with China before the isolation, before coronavirus. I'm pretty sure.
Well, I think where Taser's come from.
I don't think.
Yeah. Or is that?
I don't. Sorry, you go.
I'll go. There's that. People just need some closure on why is Victoria part of a non-binding agreement with China when it's not even state policy to allow. We've completely bypassed foreign policy with this China agreement. That's something that states aren't allowed to do.
Are we Australia or are we China? That's what you got to look at.
I
think we're Australia.
To some, donors and all the backbenchers and all the. It's a rabbit hole.
Look,
probably
we can talk.
I think all parties need to stop making these deals and meeting.
Correct. Until we finish this crisis and get back to where we were.
Exactly.
I completely agree.
How can you be in lockdown and then it ends and then businesses are back up and running? They get let allow patients. They can start making money and then we're back to lockdown. How is the economy ever going to recover if we're just going up, down, up, down, up, down? I don't see an end to this. All the other states are good and now look at us. We're back in lockdown.
Well, to be fair, the other states they have seen a couple more cases come up, but obviously not to the extent with Victoria.
Correct.
So I think Victoria is hoping that after this we can finally actually kind of get back on track. And one of the main things that will determine how our economy recovers is actually how the federal government in Canberra manages this, right? The JobKeeper program is expected to end in September, and a lot of businesses are saying we still need this JobKeeper program to be extended because our cash flow it's still going to be interrupted. We need that kind of certainty with the cash flow from the government to keep going for maybe another few more months, right? Because it's not going to be a V-shaped recovery. Yeah, because
of course,
when
if people don't have money, they're not going to spend money, and no one's going to make money. So
with an economic recession, it takes years for the economy to recover. It takes years for consumer and business confidence to recover, and so therefore it takes years for unemployment to go back to the pre-recession levels, right? So this is going to take several years until
we're back to where we were.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
If we ever get there, that's the question.
And I think a lot of us talk about. Sorry, I'll shut up after this because I know I've been talking a lot. So just to comment, we can all agree that we're actually concerned about China's influence, right? But I reckon there's unfair. I think sometimes we focus too much. The media has been focusing too much on Labor, and they've been actually ignoring the federal Liberal government, who under them, China has actually they've actually let much worse happen from the Chinese than Daniel Andrews ever did with the non-binding agreement, right? More and more of our land has been bought by foreign investors, including the Chinese, and including the Darwin, the Darwin port, 99-year lease from the business that's owned by the CCP. Okay, so
Don't even get me started on that.
Yeah, if we're going to focus on China, let's actually be fair and say, okay, what Daniel Andrews did with the non-binding agreement doesn't look good, but it's nowhere near as bad as what the Liberal federal government has been doing the last 7 years.
I just think it's held to that level because of we are in a crisis, and he's going, worrying about other things. That's where I'm coming from. Yeah, it might be a good agreement. Good for you.
And what you also have to look at is that the federal government's actually trying to shift our main trading partner from China to India. They're meeting with Indian government officials, so we're not so reliant on Chinese influence, money, and trade, that we can actually build up stronger ties with India. So instead of exploiting all of our natural resources to China, we can export to India, who are also in massive need of our natural resources. So I think the federal government is trying to take steps to not make us so reliant on Chinese
on one country. Yes.
They're doing something. Okay, that's good, right? But the problem is they should have done it a much earlier, a long time ago, and you can't just forgive them like that, right? Because they've let China do a lot.
We can all agree hindsight's a beautiful thing, because I feel like the governments haven't expected China to be this aggressive or ignorant to actually how powerful China is. Because I don't think anyone took China seriously until 2020, until this COVID.
Everyone took China seriously. China's been on the rise for ages, okay? People have been taking China very seriously. They've just been very complacent about it. They've been very complacent about it. They've just not cared. They've been the governments, probably Labor too, right? Federal governments. They've been okay with our reliance on trade with China because they want to worry about the next election in 3 years so they can brag about strong growth, right? So they're all worried about the short-termism, about exporting more to China so they can brag about higher GDP figures. But in the long term, it's not good.
Yeah.
Well, I think on to the next one. I think enough of this one.
I'm just going to go back to the coronavirus thing and Dan Andrews' response. I was saying before, obviously one of the biggest outbreaks was the religious celebrations, Eid. Large groups of the Islamic community gathered together, breached quarantine regulations, and none of the people who facilitated that and organized that have been punished. That's kind of been swept under the rug, which I think is also one of the big reasons why Daniel Andrews has stuffed up a bit. And he's not yet I haven't seen many people talking about that. The only thing I've seen about that one was someone, one of the health ministers, come on the news and say, "Oh, we can't blame these communities for doing this. They have a language barrier," but that's not a good enough excuse, because not all of them.
They surely would have known, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they 100% would have known. They have interpreters spreading the news for this exact reason, and it's not like all of the people at this festival couldn't speak English. That a high percentage would have spoken English and would know that we're not allowed to do this. So, and that's
a lot of them just didn't care.
Being punished from that one, so that's quite
Yeah,
pretty bad.
people need to be held accountable, regardless of where you are, what your position is, or your social status is. You just need to be held accountable. Simple as that.
Yeah, especially if you know 100% the rules.
That's it.
Yeah, the problem is there's just a section of society that they don't really care about the virus. They don't take it seriously.
I think that's
course,
probably the media. Well, it's hard to when the people don't take it seriously is because there's not the lack of transparency from the government, because you've got one side that doesn't believe in it and are worried that there's going to be some mandatory vaccination that will be coming out of this, which is it shouldn't be the case. You should always have a choice on vaccinations. Can we all agree on that?
100%.
Yes.
Even if it's
I don't know.
even with we're not denying the fact that vaccinations are a good thing.
I haven't made up my mind on that. I've got mixed feelings.
You got mixed feelings.
Yeah, I'm happy to have my mind changed to one way or the other. But yeah, I get the argument that, you know, even though we would want to believe in science, people should still have the choice, right? The freedom if they want to get vaccinated. So yeah, I haven't given it too much thought, but you know, I understand the sentiment about, you know, non-compulsory vaccinations.
I think the reason why this is probably why people don't believe in it is because there's a distrust with government and the probably big companies and tech corporations and your Bill Gates, your George Soros. There's a lot of, and YouTube and other social media platforms are fueling this. They're fueling this kind of a red pill sort of moment where people sort of see that there is probably bigger things. And the mainstream media, or the media that we usually look towards, haven't been, how to say, like reporting on those on the other side. It's always a one-way narrative, and it's always entertainment. It's always sensationalizing news when news should just be fact-based. They're always trying to play a narrative, and this is where probably people don't agree with that coronavirus is that deadly, is because they think it's a narrative. They think that
it's the conspiracies
and the lack of transparency from the government and World Health Organizations is probably the reason why we're here today. And that goes to the World Health Organization. It's owned 20% by Bill Gates. And Bill Gates also, apparently, we can't confirm this, but he had also dealings with the Wuhan lab, right? And we can't, I just feel like there's so much information going around. People don't know what to believe, but they're making predictions.
Where's this information that Bill Gates owns 20%? Because World Health Organization, that they're a public institution, right? An international.
It's a public institution, but if we do it with actual factual,
how does he own 20%? I haven't seen that.
That's just a figure that's been thrown around that people.
I thought like countries expected to like donate a percentage of their GDP to these organizations and how they're propped up.
I haven't. Yeah, how does he own 20%?
I don't know. That's just one of the red pill movement on the other side that are saying that those type of statistics, and no one can prove them or prove them. That makes sense.
Organization in general, just because of their dodgy actions and telling the rest of the world that the Wuhan virus isn't as bad as as everyone's saying it is, and then wait until like shutting down.
That's the point I was trying to make, is that the World Health Organization hasn't gained any trust with anyone around the world, especially with how they're dealing with China and covering up. And that in December, World Health Organization blatantly knew about what was going on in China and didn't report it, didn't say it's a pandemic until China said so, until China destroyed the samples in January, when the US health officials were looking of Department of Disease Control, were going over there to look and talk about this new virus come up. So there's been a lot of shady stuff around China and the World Health Organization. And Dr. What's his name? The head doctor, CEO, the leader of the World Health Organization, he's the only leader of that organization without a doctorate degree in medicine.
I mean, he's got a PhD in something, right? He's in something. But you're right. World Health Organization has actually lost some. They've kind of lost some credit
I think that stems to why people don't believe it's as deadly as it is, because world government organizations are failing this time and time again.
Yeah, you're right. I think there's some lack of transparency with some of the institutions. So, but I think it's also some conspiracies as well. So that are just not telling the truth, right? Some people saying that, like for example, in America, we'll go to America because there's always plenty of talk about there. Some people were saying it's a Democratic hoax, or they're just doing it because they want Trump to lose the next election, right? So there's some people who think it's fake, but I don't think that. Yeah, so I think in Victoria that might not be as relevant. I think in Victoria it might there'll be some people who don't believe in it at all because they're so tied in, all caught up with the conspiracies in America that aren't really relevant here and aren't true. And also some people, just don't care. They don't take it seriously. They don't think it's such big of a deal.
There's a good quote to summarize this all, is that I can't remember who said it, but he said, or she said, is that you quarantine sick people, but when you quarantine not sick people, that becomes tyranny.
Tyranny.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's like, what's your guys' thoughts on the locking down of those housing commissions up in I forgot where it was. They've locked down those 3,000 people in those housing estates because there's a huge outbreak within. And then I'm seeing a lot of people trying to make this into like a racism issue, like saying, "Oh, Daniel Andrews is just locking these housing commissions down because it's got minorities in it." And I don't know how they've made that stretch when there's, if it was a school and there was like a huge outbreak of the coronavirus, I can guarantee the government would also be shutting down that school and locking all those people down. So I don't know how people are making that correlation there, but it's pretty disingenuous.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I get why they might be saying that, but maybe if they were in the position of the health authorities, they'd think a bit differently because they got to think quick, right? And they really want to get this under control quickly, so they decide to lock it down. I guess the optics aren't good. The people might think, oh, it's really authoritarian. Getting all these police to surround a house full of people, the housing commissions who are migrants and stuff who are poor. But maybe it might not even have anything to do with their background, but just rather that there was a massive outbreak there. But if someone else in the comments thinks differently, I'm happy to have my mind changed.
No,
I'm open about it.
Just because it's a huge outbreak in that confined area, they're not going to risk people coming out and spreading it. It's what, 2 weeks? Like, it's a pretty shit situation for everyone.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not in that same situation, but they're getting food, they're getting supplies. I'm not sure if their rent should be.
They're getting $750.
So is it? But the public housing commissions, right? There's no rent. Is there rent involved in public housing commissions?
I think they're owned by the government, so I think they do pay a little bit much.
All right.
Well, at least that's what they demand. I saw this list of demands that they're demanding from the government. It's like, being allowed to leave whenever we want, allowed to go to work, or having rent suspended for our housing.
Yeah, they've gotten some assistance though from the state government.
Oh yeah,
and other community organisations as well, doing the food deliveries and food drops and medicine drops.
Yeah.
And you could see that Channel 9 specifically and Channel 10 and all the main part are always playing the narrative. They're always just making it into like an entertainment saga. Like
that's what I was going to say.
For Channel 9, they always say, "Second wave, what to expect," and it has like a massive one of those pandemic symbols on there, and it just makes it's fear mongering. It's making people feel like, and this is where the distrust of the government comes from. So you can't trust the.
Like, I saw one lady who was in one of the housing commissions come on, and she's saying, "I need medication to survive. How am I meant to get my medication?" I'm like, "Oh, don't. Obviously, they're going to get you your medic. Don't try and pull that card. The government's going to assist you in getting your medication. Don't even try and say that they're going to let you die in there. they're 100%. They're not blocking medication. All they're doing is saying you can't leave and come in, and people can't visit you. They'll get you the medication if you need it to survive. That annoyed me. And they put that on. I think it was Channel 7 or something. God.
And that's probably where this whole thing comes from. Like Taser and was saying before that, people probably just don't trust the government and these media outlets for giving out misinformation. Well, they're giving out information, but not giving the full story.
That's it. They're giving you what is going to make a bigger headline than this is what's really going on. They're telling you what's going to make more money for them. It's simple as that. And,
I think just during this, at least during the during this peak corona period for Victoria, for now at least, there's got to be just working together and just trying to get through it. And then once all this is done, then we can start pointing the finger and blaming people, which is what it should have been happening during the bushfires. But instead, we just have people just constantly bashing Scott Morrison, which he deserved for leaving, but it's not. He shouldn't be trying to demand his resignation in the middle of the crisis. So afterwards,
I think we can all agree this bashing comes from the cesspool that is Twitter.
No, yeah.
Twitter is one of the worst social things ever created. Not because you can say what you want, but there's obviously clear political bias in what people say.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So
For
whole cancel culture at the moment, just trying to cancel something. One small thing.
Going on to that, do you guys want to go on to the next topic? We've got Black Lives Matter, Epstein and Maxwell, or China or India. Which one? Which of the three?
Wait, what?
We've got Epstein and Maxwell. We've got China and India, and we have got Black Lives Matter. Which of the three?
Probably Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter. There's plenty to talk about.
Black Lives Matter.
I liked your video, Mathers. That was good. The video about it. It was good.
All right, so I reckon I'm gonna put a video on, and I'm gonna admit it's gonna be a conservative probably aspect to it.
What's the channel?
You probably might know them, the Hodge twins. Have any of you heard of the Hodge twins?
Them.
I haven't seen them.
Yeah.
Wait, maybe. I don't know.
Wait, bear with me 1 second. We'll watch the Epstein Island one after this, but I want to give you your thoughts on the Hodge twins, right?
Yeah. Oh, these guys.
Which one is it? Let me.
Because the protests in America, they've been going on for 2 months now. They're still pretty strong at this point.
So we're just going to look at this, and I want to see what you guys think of it, because they do make some compelling points, but also where is it? I don't
really watch them, but they're like pro-Trump type of people. I'll let this lie.
Right, can everyone hear everything?
All lives. Man, you gotta tell them why all lives matter. No, that should be obvious. All lives do matter. You gotta explain this to people. All lives matter. You would never see me walking down the road with a damn Black Lives Matter sign. If you do, I got a gun to my head. And I'm just trying to survive.
So how does everyone feel so far? You can always interject, say what you want to say about the point, contradicting points.
No,
how does everyone feel at the moment?
I think my take on Black Lives Matter, I try to make it as nuanced as possible because these things are very complicated, right? I think when people say Black Lives Matter, they're not saying that, everything else doesn't matter. I think what they're saying is that what they're contending is, whether you disagree with them or if you agree with them, they're contending that the system in America acknowledges that white lives matter, but that it doesn't take black lives seriously. It lets them get incarcerated and get shot by by police and stuff. And so I don't think they're saying that black lives are better than whites, or that no one else matters, but that there's a serious problem with how the system, the dynamic between the black community and the system, and so that means that the system doesn't even acknowledge that that black lives really matter. So that's why they have that slogan. But that's whether you agree with that contention or not. But I think that's what they're trying to say.
Yeah, I think. Well, the big problem is that the American justice system in general is pretty bad. Like, not just for black people as well. Like, I see a lot of people saying, like, oh, if you say all lives matter, you're basically saying my house isn't on fire, but that house is on fire, so the firefighter should be looking after my house just as well as your house, which is not the same, because there are so many unjust killings of unarmed white people as well, but they don't get any media attention. Like, you see all the ones since these protests started of white people, their names aren't mentioned. The cops, I read about 4 of them. They all got off. They're back serving. There was in one investigation done, and they're basically all sent back on duty with no punishment, and no one cares about them. And it's a problem, all amongst all Americans, not just the black.
Yeah.
I think Black Lives Matter isn't just a movement to protest police brutality against blacks. I think if you don't like police brutality, I think that's what Black Lives Matter is actually trying to make people aware of overall. Some of the messaging I disagree with, like when they say defund the police. Some people interpret that differently. Some people are saying that defund the police just means that they want to cut some funding and then reallocate that to other things like social services. Others say that they actually want to abolish the police, but effectively just replace it with another kind of institution that will kind of function as like a police force, but have a different name and perhaps be kind of maybe be less aggressive. So
I agree sort of with Tom. Like, it's similar to if Elliot, if you're diagnosed with, say, cancer or something, and I'm perfectly healthy, obviously the doctors are going to treat you and not me. So I think what's going on is, yes, there's a bit of injustice or towards black people, and I think they've had enough. They're fed up with it. So it's really, we need to shift the focus and, okay, these people are the minority now. Let's help them to get on the same level as other people, because it shouldn't ever be I'm above you, you're below me. It should never be like that. Everyone is equal. Everyone has the same rights at the end of the day, regardless how much money you make, where you live, where you're from. Everybody is, everybody came from, they came from their mother and their father. As simple as that. So why should he be treated differently because he came out of a different color or in a different country or a different location to me? And going on to what Tom said, yes, there might be, a lot of white people that are treated unfairly, and it might not get media attention, but the volume of white people that get mistreated compared to people of color is so out of proportion, and it's really quite unacceptable. Regardless, like America, it could be here too. I think all across the world, we can all agree that the people of color are mistreated a lot more than white people, and that's their point. Right now they're vulnerable and they need our help. They need our voices, because their voices alone is not strong enough to be heard.
Yeah, and sometimes it's sometimes difficult for people like us because we've never, like, for example, the Aboriginal community, they're so isolated from the rest of Australia. You don't really see any Aboriginal people where we live, right? And so we don't actually, and sometimes because that stuff happens so far away from us, we kind of sometimes don't even know that reality even exists. So sometimes it's difficult to kind of acknowledge that, that reality even happens, because there's different Australias, right? There's a poorer Australia and there's a wealthier Australia, and depending on it's just really like people the circumstances we are born into. A lot of it's luck, right? We're fortunate to kind of be born into more affluent communities, whereas people who were born in the projects in the US or isolated Aboriginal communities up north, it's just kind of their luck has been very different to ours. They're just born into those situations and they're victim of circumstance.
but
that's it.
you can also go look at the other way, that instead of embracing this victimhood, you can make it something out of it. You can elevate. It will take some strong mental work to do that, because I think
I think focusing it, kind of interpreting it as just as something on an individual level, I think is wrong, because there is some systemic problems, right?
Yeah.
For example, in the US, the drug war, right, disproportionately affects Black communities, the war on drugs. And I'm going to quote Richard Nixon here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he and his White House did admit, yeah, we're going to go after the white hippies and the blacks because they're not going to vote for us. So we're going to criminalize their lifestyle, which is part of that is smoking weed. We're going to lock them up, strip their right to vote, and so they don't. And so we're just going to discard them away, the undesirables. And correct me if I'm wrong, but white people and Black people actually smoke weed at similar rates, but Black people are more likely to get punished for it. And a Black and a white person who commits the same crime, a Black person is more likely to get punished harsher. And you don't think those people on Wall Street, right? You don't think they take drugs, right? Probably they take the harder drugs like cocaine and stuff, but they don't get arrested, right? It's the poorer people that
for sure. I completely agree. I agree.
Yeah. And
unfortunately, in this world, money is power, and if you're in a position where you have money and you come from a good family, you have a good job, then you're most likely to be let off. Whereas these people, they've had their backs against the wall their whole life, so they're always fighting against that storm. And unfortunately, a lot of them don't make it to 20. They don't even make their teenage years, because they've been grown up in such not poor places, such disadvantaged places where they haven't had opportunities like us. They haven't had opportunities like those people living in Beverly Hills and whatnot. They don't have opportunity. And I don't know how you can say if they're mentally strong enough, they can get through it, because nobody should have to be in a position where they're grown up with mental problems. They've lost their parents. They've been exposed to gangs, guns, drugs. Like, what 7-year-old kid is exposed to that at their age? Who should be susceptible to that? Yeah.
There's a lot of people who are a victim of circumstance, and it might be easy to blame. Or it's your fault, you made bad decisions. But when people grow up in that environment, right, they're stuck in that cycle of poverty. And so the only way to break that cycle of poverty, you need systemic change. You can't just rely on the individual. Sometimes the system is rigged against you, and so you actually have to change the system and the way it runs.
And they make decisions in the moment.
Trump's signed a police reform on the.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much teeth it has though.
It gives economic incentives for. Well, if you look at it, all the reoccurring police brutality cases are normally from. I know I'm probably going to be picking political sides here, but normally from Democratic-run cities like Minneapolis, Chicago, New York.
Yeah, I mean, all cities are Democratic-run
governments, and no one's focusing on that. The federal government's only there to guide them and to give them donations or money where they see fit, but it's up to the local mayors and the governments to fully change that systematic thing.
They need to tackle the problem starting from the prison system. The prison system needs to be absolutely reworked, because they private companies running those prison systems who will, they make money off of how many cells they've got filled up in there. So they need to relook at that, make that state-owned and controlled and run.
Yeah, then and private prison.
And then from there, look at, especially for drug crimes like possession crimes, they shouldn't have a record. I think that for certain crimes you shouldn't have a criminal record after it, especially like possession crimes, because all that does, it makes it borderline impossible to get a job to support yourself and your family when you leave, and that just throws them right back into the crime lifestyle. So they just need to relook at that and make it, obviously for stuff, the only things I would think it's fair enough to have criminal record for would be like sexual assault, or
pedophilia.
Pedophilia, yeah. assault, just basically violent crimes and sexual crimes you should have a record for, because obviously that's someone you can't trust. But if it's
and murder as well, if you get out on a
like possession of drugs,
what about like fraud
really,
or theft?
Really...
Like, what about those?
Yeah. Obviously,
crime.
depends on circumstances. I'm not trying to make not trying to pass any new legislation here or anything, but just it depends. Like a lot, I'm just basically saying for those possession crimes, it's ridiculous to have,
petty
criminal
crimes. Yeah.
Do you reckon we should legalize all drugs, or at least decriminalize them?
Not all drugs, but
I reckon weed, marijuana, legalized.
Because you wouldn't legalize meth because that.
No, there's a big ice problem in this country. I don't think legalizing it would solve the problem. Well,
once you legalize drugs, it's more accessible, and then you get a lot of more misuse. Obviously, there's always going to be drugs around. But,
possibly the education
where.
I mean, you could say that about legalizing, about criminalizing stuff like alcohol, because when alcohol was illegal, right, it actually didn't stop people from accessing it, but rather it created kind of a black market underground, increased crime, and the mob had a monopoly on it. And occasionally some people would die because they drank from a bad batch that was made in a bathtub. So,
but like in saying that, in Canada they legalized marijuana, and it has just made the problem, like now the black market has just increased because they technically can't. It's much harder. Like beforehand, they could just arrest anyone who had, say, eight ounces of weed or whatever. Now you've got, if someone has weed on them, it's kind of very hard for the police to prove that you've got that illegally. And because it's taxed so highly in Canada, no one's really wanting to buy it through legal means.
From the stores, yeah, correct.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess you don't want to tax it too high. But I mean, there's a black market for alcohol and cigarettes too. People buy the cigarettes because illegally because it's not taxed. But I think it really comes down to, do you think someone who has a joint deserves to go to jail? I mean, I don't think they do. I don't think they deserve.
Surely not. No.
They don't deserve to go to jail.
You got to remember, if someone wants something, they're going to get it regardless. Whether it's illegal. If you want a gun, you can access it. It's not like you have to go to the shop. You can get it. It's not hard.
You can try and minimize use, but I mean, it's not going to go away. You got to find ways to actually kind of remove that taboo. To actually maybe people may be less likely to take it once it's legal, because it's not as it's not as kind of thrilling to kind of take something that's illegal, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm fairly sure
education and the.
Oh, you go.
It's all sorts of education, and probably the thing that gets probably thrown out the window in Melbourne today, because we all realise that there is a societal problem with parties and excessive use of drugs. Can we all agree on there's something? It's like a social.
Weird, though. It's the much harder drug
and all that.
Yeah, that's the real problem. Yeah. Don't lock someone up just taking weed.
People need to understand that moderation is key. I think maybe the government needs to implement like some sort of educational program which discusses that, you can take them, don't give it that taboo effect. You've got to realize that the implications after you take them, and that moderation is very key, because once you get hooked on it, it's very hard to get off it. And
it's like with alcohol and cigarettes, right?
In Australia,
but alcohol and cigarettes isn't made in the back of someone's garage. Like it's got to go past legislation and all that.
Some people did make alcohol in their bathtubs when it was illegal, right? So I reckon if you do, So I reckon
not at that stage.
Yeah, I think if you legalize weed, there is the argument that you can actually reduce crime, because then that means the black market doesn't have a monopoly on it anymore. But again, you don't want to tax it too highly, right? Where you get that situation in Canada. Yeah.
Well, and also, I'm pretty sure in Australia, at least, it's not illegal to just have marijuana on you unless you have enough, and the police can say, you're intending to sell it to make a profit off of illegal substances. I'm fairly sure that's where the law is in Australia. So you can have a small amount of marijuana here, as long as it's for it's enough for personal use.
For personal consumption.
But I mean, I think still on paper, the cops can arrest you, but a lot of them don't, because it's just a waste of time.
They just take it. They just take it from you.
Yeah, I don't think they can arrest you for having. personally.
Yeah, I mean,
Going back to that drug problem we have though, it's a lot of youth, like it's people around our age, a little bit younger. They don't really understand the effects of it. They don't understand where this stuff was made. They don't know what really truly is in it, because it is, at the end of the day, it's just a capsule. How can you know it's pure MD? Because I guarantee you it's not pure MD, because you're not going to give pure MD for that price. You know, they're trying to make money. They're going to put anything they can find in it. And you know, people, when someone does OD, everyone knows someone that has OD. Like there was a young girl that, you know, whatever happened last week. I'm not too sure what's going on, but you know, if someone does OD, they're all upset, this, that. But at the end of the day, if you put something into your body that you truly don't know what's in there, you're running a risk. And these kids are just thinking it's cool to do it. And I don't know, like, it might be the uncool thing to say, but truly, drugs, they destroy lives. Simple as that. And
that's a good
Especially
point. It is it's your own individual choice, and
that's it. You're running the risk, you know.
Yeah, especially in Australia and stuff where it is in the black market, which is why I'm seeing
so accessible.
Pill testing at festivals and stuff. I've seen some people say that, well, why should taxpayers have to pay for pill testing and paramedics be on the side when it's an individual choice, you know? And if you take that and you do have something does happen to you, you run the risk of doing that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we need to implement that in the school systems so they can understand that.
Yeah, it's all about education, but you know, as I said, you don't know where this stuff was made. How can you be 100% until you've taken it? That's when you really find out whether.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it is so accessible. You go to a club, you're guaranteed to find it within, you know, first 5 minutes. You know who's selling, you know, whatever, you know, and it's not going to stop people. It's not going to stop people. As simple as that. I don't know how many people have to die, you know, overdose for it to stop, because I don't think it'll ever stop. People are always going to take drugs and consume drugs for party purposes and enjoyment, and they think they're cool or whatever. But you know, at the end of the day, I'm sure us four of us, we realize that, you know, these things can destroy lives, and we would never put ourselves or our family in a situation where they have to, you know, see us in the hospital or dead. You know, like some people just don't understand that. They don't see the bigger picture until it's too late. And even when it is too late, their friend passes away ODs, they still continue to do it. So it's all up to personal choice. You have choices in life, and if you want to run that risk, then you got to be prepared for the consequences. Simple as that. That's where I'm at.
Very good.
On my side.
Well put, Kaiser. Well put. I think that's what everyone needs to hear, is that we all know those people that go around going, "Oh, just take this, man. You're living your life. You're young. You need to do these things." But they're the ones that go home after they come down and they're absolutely depressed. They don't know where they're going in their life. All they live for is the party, and they have no other goals or aspirations.
You know, if you get a good job, why would you want to jeopardize that by, you know, overdosing or, you know, being caught with drugs? Like for me, it's something I'm not interested in. I barely drink, but that's just personal choice. I'm too busy focused on my career, and I don't want to disappoint my family. Simple as that. And that's just how I was brought up. So it is, yes, how you are brought up influences it at some aspect. And yes, schools need to teach it a lot more. But it also, at the end of the day, if somebody wants to make a decision, they're going to make that decision based on what they want to do.
Yeah,
you can't really stop them. So just be prepared for whatever happens.
Like, you know, keeping government out of individual choice. Like, I honestly don't think the tobacco tax and an alcohol tax is that fair. Like, it's a huge amount. Like, obviously there has to be some
it is tax there. Correct, it's a lot.
Yeah, so I just, like, personally I wouldn't smoke, but I don't see if people want to smoke, I don't see why the government should have to, you know, tax it so highly. All that does is, like, if you're hooked, you're going to be hooked on it, and you're going to pay for it no matter what, and you're just going to hurt those people. I guess it prevents people from growing up and wanting to smoke, but I don't know.
It's also easy money. The government likes to tax everything. Everything's taxed. They get so much money from
revenue.
It. They get so much money.
They know people aren't going to stop. So if they put more tax on it, people are still going to buy it. They're going to make more money. Simple as that.
Well, that's going to destroy societies and communities if people with those high taxes.
I mean, it has worked. It has helped reduce alcohol, cigarette consumption to an extent. But I'm not sure how much it's helping now.
Never going to get so low. Yeah, that's it. It's always going to. There's always going to be a lot of people smoking. Like, you walk outside, you can, you know, you're guaranteed to see 300 people if you walk in the city smoking. Simple.
And even in America at the moment, there's like a resurgence in tobacco use among teenagers using the vapes and
Vapes.
electronic.
Yeah.
It's become like almost cool again to smoke through those, but not traditional cigarettes.
Yeah, the federal government here wanted to ban vaping, didn't they?
And
Are they doing it?
Yeah, well, I'm not too sure. Like, I can't really talk because a lot of my mates, we go to shisha, and so it is worse. Shisha is worse, 100%. If you do it for an hour, it's like equivalent to 100 cigarettes. But you don't go to shisha every day and do it every day 24/7. Whereas these people are smoking a pack a day. But you run the risk, as I said. Everybody has decisions, and you run the risk. So I think government is looking into that, and they're looking.
I don't think they should though. I think
no, I don't think they should either.
I think just because you disagree with the use doesn't mean you should ban it.
It should be taken away from other people. Yes, correct.
Yeah. Exactly.
A lot of it's cultural thing as well.
The only like thing I would say to that is like, well, what happens if it causes lung cancer or something later on, and then the taxpayer has to pay for the medical bills of that person?
You can make the same argument for cigarettes as well.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
but you can make the same argument for phones as well. On 5G, isn't that cancerous? Holding a phone to your ear, isn't that exposure to radiation?
Well, I mean, radiation's everywhere. There's radiation everywhere.
So it's such a broad
statement. There's more of a correlation between smoking cigarettes, nicotine, and lung cancer than there is phones and
correct. Yeah, you're right, but there still is a correlation. You know what I mean?
Correlation doesn't equal causation, but there's a causation between smoking and cancer.
True. That's very true. But I think if we try to eliminate everything, obviously there's always going to be disease. If you try to eliminate everything, you won't have enough money coming in. You won't have enough jobs. Yeah, exactly. It's too hard to control.
Yeah, exactly.
People need to have their choice and be able to do whatever they want to do.
Legalize, tax, and regulate.
Yeah, I'm more for
legalize, tax, and get some money from it. That's what the government.
Just not
create jobs
too highly. Obviously,
obviously not too highly.
Like cigarettes, I can see why the tax is so highly, but alcohol, I'm like everyone has alcohol at some point. Like, obviously, some drink more than others.
Good in the bed.
Exactly.
They tax it highly because again, money.
For sure, exactly. They know people are always going to buy alcohol.
With taxing cigarettes, the people you are taxing for, you could then make the argument, oh, well, they're eventually going to have to use the healthcare system to pay for whatever, for their lung cancer or whatever. So this just helps prop that up. But then with drinking, not everyone will have a drink now and then, but everyone's getting taxed more for their drink, despite the people who only have 1 or 2 drinks every couple of weeks, not going to have any health damage to their health from their consumption of alcohol versus the guys who binge drink 18 drinks a weekend.
Yeah, well, the government doesn't care because they get all the money and
all about revenue. Simple.
It's all about revenue. Shall we go on to the next topic now?
Yeah, let's just move on to the next topic.
Epstein.
Shall we hardly even watch the video?
Oh, let's watch it. What's going? Oh, we'll stuff that video. It's a bit like what you call it, a bit biased, but we'll go straight into the Epstein Island footage.
Oh, you've been excited about this one, haven't you?
All right, we'll get into it.
Oh, I can't see it.
Wait, hold on. Hold your horses. We're gonna watch this. So we're gonna watch the footage. You guys are gonna love it. Everyone ready? Let's watch it and see how weird this island is. Right?
Yep.
It's a beautiful place. It's so beautiful. But there's so many hidden stuff in there.
Thanks, commentator.
Well, we'll skip it a bit. Zoom over the ocean. Full screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, full screen.
Would be lovely.
Better?
Yep.
Yeah, it looks like Fiji.
Like, it just looks creepy, doesn't it?
I don't know. I'd like to brag that I have an island.
Where is this?
Virgin Islands.
Ironic name.
Yeah, there's a conspiracy that Jeffrey Epstein is actually an Israeli spy, and that his job was to get all the celebrities and expose them, get dirt on them. And then after,
Like,
what is that?
it's a compass, a sun compass.
Oh, I thought it was a playground. I got a bit worried for a second.
Yeah. So did I. I thought it was like a seesaw.
But who has those benches around it? Like, who has them? Like,
looks like a clock.
it's a sun clock. It's just a big sun dial, apparently.
All right, that's weird.
It's a nice island, you got to admit, but
Wow. Who owns it now?
it's still no one owns it. It's deserted apparently, but it looks so well maintained. Like, obviously, but then we come up to this weird one, this weird little house, and you can quite clearly tell there's got to be some underground compartments to this island.
Yeah.
You reckon?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
That looks like the set of Ellen. Same colour and the palm trees.
Like, it's a bit.
How did they film this? Is this a drone?
It's a drone from a random guy. He hasn't posted the footage like for 9 months though.
Oh, maybe something happened to him.
Like, this is some weird.
Maybe there is something underground. There's so much space to actually just dig into it.
Yeah.
It's, what is this random little blue building?
Who knows, man? Who knows? Yeah.
Wow.
Weird stuff. Weird stuff.
So, does everyone think Maxwell? Is the last name Maxwell?
Yeah, Maxwell.
Do you reckon she's gonna
Maxwell
die soon?
No, I think she's. The word on the street is that she's going to talk. She's going to have some big names. And they're going to release who's been involved this whole time, and there's going to be a lot of heads rolling in the next few weeks.
Oh,
didn't she get
Hollywood in general? Hollywood in general is pretty creepy. Like, I saw this list of like all the actors who've gone out with underage women or underage girls or whatever, had slept with underage people, and it is crazy. Like, it's almost every major celebrity.
Well, there's this guy called Isaac Cappy. Have you guys heard of him?
No.
No.
It's a video going around on Facebook. Get up, try and find it. But it's this guy that he comes out and says there's a pedophile problem in Hollywood, and then few weeks later he goes on the live stream saying, "I've done something really bad. I'm probably not going to make it." And then next week he's found.
I know that. Yeah, I've heard of that.
There's obviously. Do you know that guy that we were talking about?
Yeah,
I heard of that. That was recent, no?
What's happened to him?
Try and get his video up because YouTube blocks it a lot.
Yeah, what happened to him? He's still around, yeah?
No, he died.
He died?
Yeah.
Didn't they make it look like he committed suicide?
Didn't he say? I think there was footage of him. He said that I'm not suicidal. He said that.
Yeah, so
I'm pretty sure I've heard of it. Yeah, they made it look like
he would have known. They were after him.
For sure.
I'm just going to share a bit of the screen up now, so you guys can. So this is on his live streams, right?
Oh, him.
I'm going to this bit. He looks pretty mad.
No, they're not going to tell the truth. That's why when people say the news is fake, it's because it's run by these people who are into some very, 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 very sick stuff. I want to. What else do we got here? Elsagate. Please, please, please. I want you guys to research and look about Elsagate. Elsagate is.
Before we get into this, anyone that's watching, and for you guys, obviously, just go into this with an open mind and like always critically evaluate it, because for now it is a conspiracy theory, but there's a lot of leads coming out of it. Like, hopefully we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
What do you guys think so far?
I mean, I'm not.
I think there's a lot to it that we're not going to know ever.
I honestly wouldn't
out the truth.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it's something, really, really kind of conspiratorial.
Pretty fucked. And it's like all these people who were so shocked when the Weinstein thing came out, like Oprah pretending she didn't know anything. Like, come on.
They all knew. They all knew. They just didn't care.
Exactly. It's so cringe. And then the people who are like go on, who they still follow these people and still support them, and I'm like, I don't understand how. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, there's some crazy stuff in Hollywood at the moment. I'm gonna try and find it.
What was the guy who played Home Alone? The kid who played Home Alone, that kid. He came out like a couple of years back, and he also blew the lid on basically grooming and child predators within Hollywood, and they're just everywhere. Almost every producer he worked with was somehow would hit on him or stuff. Is McConaughey? Yeah.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. He came
casting couch.
Yeah, the couch. Yeah. Well, like they all do that, 'cause there's jokes from like the early 2000s of other celebrities joking about Harvey Weinstein's casting couch. They all knew. They didn't say anything, and then once a few people come out, now they've all just decided, oh yeah, I'm gonna be brave and call it out. No.
Right. I've got the video now. It's about 6 minutes long. Is everyone happy with that?
Yeah, so Elliot, that guy, who did he expose? Exactly?
Seth Green, Robot Adult Swim, Rick and Morty.
Oh.
What?
Seth Green?
Yeah.
Paris Jackson, Michael Jackson's daughter.
Oh, he exposed them for doing stuff?
Just watch this video. All right.
Kill me. Do you know anyone who was murdered because of this? Not personally, but people are murdered for it. I'm not suicidal. Am I afraid of something? Should be, because bad things are coming my way. I can assure you of that.
The first time Isaac really understood what was going on in the industry was when he was confronted by his
That's
best
Seth
friend
Green.
known as Seth Green.
Yeah.
This is when he admitted he was into pedophilia.
Well, the first time it really hit me was at Seth's. Seth said, we now need to have a talk about chicken. And then he basically
I've seen this.
The word chicken has been used as a code word in the WikiLeaks from Hillary Clinton to represent a child. In these WikiLeaks, she had stated, "With the fingers crossed the old rabbit's foot out the box in the attic, I will be sacrificing a chicken in the backyard to Moloch." If you're wondering who Moloch is, he was a deity that was worshipped thousands of years ago and was believed to still be going on today.
Like, the music's probably playing its part in making it sort of like some spooky sort of thing. But it does check out the WikiLeaks emails.
But does
was this actually from
emails?
emails?
100%.
Yeah.
Emails 100% one of her emails. Like,
Yeah, because she deleted 200,000 emails.
The 30,000 emails that she deleted that WikiLeaks recovered is on WikiLeaks at the moment with these terms.
Really?
But how do we know that that's really her emails? Like, how would they recover it?
Because it's they're hackers. They're freedom of information. Like, I can't explain that, but
we don't know. We just have to, it's just there for you to believe or not.
I don't know. Like, I just don't see how she could just openly say, "I'm going to sacrifice."
Oh, I'm not going to talk about Tom Hanks either, who is also a pedophile. Tom Hanks, folks, is a pedophile. There's this girl, Sarah Ruth Ashcraft, on Twitter, who has been accusing Tom Hanks of raping her when she was 13. Her dad sold her to Tom Hanks. She's been accusing him for months and months and months and months and months. He's never addressed it.
Tom Hanks had posted this Instagram picture a couple weeks back. It states, "Historic Route 66 roadkill? I hope not." This was a clear play on words to predict exactly where Isaac was going to be killed. It's no coincidence that he was suicided by jumping off of a bridge, as they say, and landing on a highway and being killed by a car.
The higher you go, the more sick it gets. You heard it's cannibals. Yeah, there is cannibalism. Look into Marina Abramovich. If you're just getting started with this stuff, look into Marina Abramovich.
This stuff gets pretty it's crazy.
Really high up in the industry and associated with many famous celebrities. It's clear as day that what she is doing is satanic, but she calls it performance art. She hosts these parties where they do mock human sacrifices. She is also involved.
This stuff is pretty messed right now.
It's an occult ancient ritual where
like
she
it's a
mixes
cake
together these ingredients such as sperm and breast milk. After she is done with that, she throws it on what looks like a mock child.
If you don't know who John Podesta is, do some research. Oh, absolutely disgusting. Absolutely.
How does he know this stuff?
John Podesta.
Because he's in the industry.
Part of it. He got confronted about it.
What did he do? What was his job?
He was an actor in Thor or something.
If this doesn't scream pedophilia, I don't know what does.
Jesus.
Yeah, I think inside Jeffrey Epstein's home or something, there were some really weird portraits.
Steven Spielberg is a pedophile. See how easy that was, Corey? I didn't need $10 million. I just said it.
In a new YouTube video, the former child star vowing to expose a ring of Hollywood pedophiles, whom he claims have abused thousands of children.
I can name 6 names. One of them who is still very powerful today.
Feldman posting the video after launching an online campaign aimed at raising $10 million to fund his plan to reveal what he calls the truth.
Dan Schneider. Oh my God. Yes, Dan Schneider is. Of course.
Oh, him.
Is Oprah a pedophile? Well, let's see. Hanks, Weinstein. I mean, the company she keeps, as rich as she is, I have a feeling she is very high up in the cult. And this, make no mistake, this is a cult. There is a widespread cult that is worldwide. And it's fucking bad, guys. What about Dave Chappelle? I think he knows quite a bit. Why did he run away to Africa? Why was he so freaked out?
28th of last year, Dave abruptly walked away, not only from the set of the show, but from $50 million, which left his fans shocked and left everyone completely puzzled.
You know, when you're a guy that generates money, People have a vested interest in control. They were trying to get me to take psychotic medication.
Why did they throw Kanye in an insane asylum right after he called out Facebook and Google and saying that they lied to you? Why did they throw him in an insane asylum and drug him for days? Why?
And I'm up out the sunken place I can think, and I could just be yay and just express how I feel. It was the scariest moment of my life. What you gonna do? They were gonna drug you or kill you? I thought I was gonna get killed. I'm in the hospital. How many pills you think I was given? 7. I went from taking 2 pills to taking 7. I was drugged the fuck out, bro.
Jimmy Savile raped and murdered hundreds of kids over the course of 3 decades or longer. No one ever looked into it. He hung out with the royal family. He was knighted. That's why when people say the news is fake, it's because it's run by these people who are into some very, 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 very sick stuff. We have been brainwashed for our whole lives. You can break someone's subconscious mind. If you're not aware of any of this stuff, look into MK Ultra.
MK Ultra mind control rules in Hollywood. If you don't know, Google that and look into it.
What's the worst that happens? You die. We all die. We all die. Might as well die doing something good. Everyone's afraid. They're afraid to come out. It's scary, guys. People get killed over this shit. It happens all the time. Aren't you concerned for my life? Yeah. But more importantly, I'm concerned for everybody. Because this shit has been going on forever. I'm tired of it. Start researching. I want everyone to wake up. I want you all to wake up. And I love you, all right? Bye.
So what do you guys think?
That is pretty fucked.
Like, what's the show?
There's obviously there's something going on in Hollywood, and
for sure, not just Hollywood, worldwide.
We'll never know how bad it really is.
Well, it's like
we'll never know the truth.
Been involved with all this shit.
Yeah. There's
it could all be related to why they what's the name left the royal family. You know, maybe they wanted to get out of that shit.
Prince Harry. Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, but you know, as you said, we'll never know the entire truth. There will always be speculation and conspiracies, and we'll never know exactly what happened.
But do you think
it's scary?
She could come out and talk about it.
Pardon?
I don't know. I haven't looked into this stuff enough. It's just there's so much information. You don't know what to believe.
Looking at all the news sources and everything, it looks like she's going to make a plea bargain. And her court date's on Tuesday, this Tuesday, the 14th.
So she's going to give names. She's going to give names?
I hope so.
469.
Wait, didn't Jeffrey Epstein say he was going to give names? Was he going to give names as well?
Epstein's at the head of this shit.
He was going to give names, wasn't he?
That's why everyone thinks he was killed, not suicide.
Isn't it his island though?
That's the other thing. All these people saying, well, obviously, when 6ix9ine was released, and then all these people saying you shouldn't support him. He's been charged with sexual assault and sleeping with an underage girl. But then you look at half of Hollywood, and half of them have done the same thing, but you're still going to support all of them. So it's just very hypocritical.
But that's the thing, you know, they know that 6ix9ine did this. No one knows this stuff. No one knows, you know, all the actors are doing this crap. It'll always be hidden because so much money, and you'll be able to pay people off. Simple as that. You know, they've got that much money to already be in this position where they're, you know, whatever. If it really is true, so it's been covered for. Well, apparently, it's been on forever. So
need to get Chris Hansen onto him.
I wouldn't be surprised if there is something going on, because, you know, the people who are very creative, their brains tend to be wired a bit differently to others, right? They always tend to kind of come from different circumstances, and you know what I mean.
Yeah, no,
yeah. Like a lot of like some of the most creative people in the industry, they got problems. You can tell they got problems, right?
They're all drug addicts, to be honest.
But they're very creative as well.
Those are the ones who seem way too overly friendly. Like a lot of the talk, like Ellen, she's recently obviously not pedophile or anything. She got caught out, and she apparently treats her staff like absolute shit. And so a lot of what you see on camera and stuff is not how they would act in real life, one-on-one.
It's all fake.
Yeah,
you don't know what
everything's
happens
not
behind
as
the
it seems.
It's all a show.
All about making money.
So, yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if she is on that list. I reckon Ellen is on that list, to be honest.
I reckon.
I mean, they all know. A lot of them know.
Even you look at her set, it's the same as Island. It looks like Jeffrey Epstein's Island. If you Google it now, Ellen set and Jeffrey Epstein's Island, it'll come up and it looks exactly the same. Palm trees.
Do you think Trump knew about Jeffrey Epstein?
For sure. That's why ever since Trump's been in, how many pedophiles have been caught? I think it's like 150,000 or something. Like, he's trying to stop all this child trafficking and everything. So I think he doesn't care who you are, how much money you are, he's going to stop it. And so I think that's a good side of Trump, that he's doing good for the country there, but you can't agree with everything he does.
You don't. Yeah, but do you think he says he never knew or never met Jeffrey Epstein, but you can see there's tons of photos of him with him.
Yeah, they find you.
And they're that parties with very young girls.
Yeah, but there were photos of Maxwell and Elon Musk as well. So they're socialites. They're always going to take these photos of anyone they come across that they see that are socially held in this like high regard. So they
because Trump always try to act like he's anti-establishment and everything. But do you think he knew?
Prosecution case against Jeffrey Epstein to actually come forward without his lawyer to state that these things did happen. He barred Epstein from every Trump Tower, Mar-a-Lago, anything that has a Trump-branded business name or is run by Trump. He banned Jeffrey Epstein from. Trump is you got to remember, he's a businessman. He's going to get along with anyone.
Do you reckon he had any part of this with Jeffrey Epstein?
You can't be too sure that he didn't. You always have to think.
Cross it out.
You can't cross it out.
He would have known. Do you reckon? He probably would have known.
He would have known, and this is why he's probably running.
Was he involved?
The guy that checks out that he, because there's I'll get a prosecuting video up of I'll get it up.
Yeah, I reckon Trump would have known, but like the Hillary Clinton and the Clintons in general, that is very shady, the stuff they get up to. Like, Hillary Clinton would just keep on, she used to go on this platform about being for women and all this stuff, and then she let her husband get away with a lot of stuff, and then she's involved a lot with this whole thing. So at least Trump is trying to do something about stopping it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
600,000 kids in USA go missing every year.
How many?
600,000.
Jeez. Christ.
That one kid every 40 seconds.
That's amazing.
Christ, that is bad.
I didn't know that.
These are statistics you wouldn't think of looking up.
And it's quite honestly, I think it's the same with how China's gone left unchecked. It's the same thing with this whole, probably not elitist thing, with children abduction and behavior and pedophilia. It's been swept under the rug. People need to go hard and nose on it because it's not normal. It's not right.
Because these people have the power. They got all the power. They keep it secret, and if you try to expose it, they go after you. Like, for example, WikiLeaks,
like
Julian Assange. He went, or him, yeah. For example, Julian Assange, he exposed the war crimes the US was committing, and now they're going after him, and he can get the death penalty in theory. So when you go after those people who empower and you expose them, they're going to take you down.
They're going to take you down, exactly. And people don't realize that Maxwell's dad was a Mossad agent.
Yeah.
So she's obviously going to have these connections with the Israeli Central Intelligence and the CIA. She has 3 passports: a French one, an English one, and an American one. So she's going to have connections. They have to be very careful how they play this one, because she could disappear like that.
Yeah, honestly, wouldn't be surprised.
The Israeli intelligence agency, they're pretty. Was looking at what they've done. They've done some very dodgy stuff. Like, they tried like in the 60s or 70s, maybe 80s. They tried to blow up an American and English embassy in Egypt just to provoke a war between England, America, and Egypt to weaken the Arab countries in the surrounding states. And no one really knows about this stuff. And they blew up an American warship or research ship off their coast.
What was that called? The
USS. Forgot the name.
Yeah, I've heard about it.
They just blew it up, and they said they thought it was a Egyptian warship, but then they've cut out the audio from the jet pilots talking to the home base. They said they lost the audio, which is borderline impossible for a military base to just lose audio. Every audio is tracked and recorded and kept in a vault, basically. So
yeah,
it's just a lot of bad stuff that is going on in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2020. It's like 2012.
But it's like we're talking about this pedophilia thing. It's like it's almost getting normalized to the point, because what's happening with what's his name, Shane Dawson on YouTube? He sent some pretty disturbing comments, and no one's going after him. YouTube's not censoring him. He's always on the front page. He's always been recommended. But yet then they get rid of PewDiePie, for example, for saying one comment in midstream.
What did Shane Dawson do? He sent inappropriate comments. Or
he's talking about he's trying to validate pedophilia. He's saying like, I was just curious, and I started searching up naked children on the internet just to see what would come up, and he was like saying it's not that bad and all this stuff.
Yeah.
This is a while ago, but then the audio got released recently, I think.
Well, you know that other guy, that YouTube star, Charlie or something, or
Jeffree Star, or
no, the gay YouTube star.
Oh, James Charles.
Yeah, James Charles. Yeah, what did he do? He was sending. Was he sending messages to underage boys, or what was he doing?
Yeah, I think he was. From memory, I think the accusation was he was trying to chat up underage boys who were straight, and trying to turn them or something. And
sounds like Tiger King.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, it's no good. Yeah, YouTube's pretty bad as well.
Yeah, it's all these companies, right? They got so much power, and they control the new public domain. So it's a really slippery slope with censorship.
What's that guy Onision? He's seen him. He married he's like 39 or something.
He married his girlfriend who's 18. His
girlfriend was like he'd been talking to her since she was like 16 or 17. And married her as soon as she turned 18, and had met up in another state with her while she was 17. And yeah, it's very creepy.
Yeah, there's some states in America where the age of consent is really low, or you can marry when you're like 16 or something.
Yeah.
Like some of the southern states.
Most states it's 18, but then in some of them it's low.
Yeah, it's 16.
And then him and his wife, because obviously this is a few years ago, this is like 6 years ago, they invited a 16-year-old girl who was having trouble with her parents to live with them for a while, and he said, "Oh, we're not doing anything sexual with her, and then he made her sign a non-disclosure form, or whatever the thing is, saying you can't talk about anything in relation to me or my wife, and then she basically defines that and comes out like 6 months later saying, yeah, they tried to get me to have sex, joining a threesome with them when she was 16. Fucking weird.
Do you guys want to have another look of the different angle of the island?
No, I think I've seen enough.
think it's too nice.
Yeah, I reckon it.
Yeah, I think we get the gist of it.
Look the first time
I reckon we save it for after Tuesday and we find out what goes on with this girl.
This girl.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right. Let's move on to one more topic. Should we talk about Israel and Palestine?
Oh, Israel, Palestine. What about what we're going to do? India and China or something?
Let's do India and China.
All right, India and China. Yep.
What's going on there?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know much about this.
Well, yeah, China and from what I've read, China and India have they share that border, that kind of very narrow border, and that border's been in place for ages, just ages, and there's been no problem. And all of a sudden, China's trying to remark the border.
Yeah, remark it. They're trying to attack them. They're trying to go.
But they're not even. It's not even like they're not even trying to take vast swaths of land to move the border. They're literally moving it. I don't even know. It might be whatever it is. It's not far. There's no resources where they want to move it. They've just moved it. They just try and demand the moving of the border just to start a conflict with India. And it's so shit. And then from there, India's banned all social media. Chinese made social media.
Yeah, TikTok. Yeah, what do you reckon of TikTok? Do you reckon we should ban it?
No.
Yeah.
You reckon?
No.
No? I mean,
I think it's very hard to just ban an app.
I mean, it's the argument is national security, and that all that information you give goes all the way back to China.
Yeah,
That's the same thing with Huawei. Exactly. That's right.
They're
You're
not
right. It's like with everything, right?
I think everything goes to China regardless. Google, everything. Who cares?
You reckon Google goes to China?
Yeah.
I mean, Google's in America, though. All that information goes to America. So I guess they're okay if the information goes to America, not China.
Regardless, everything you do is tracked and traced.
Yeah.
Realistically, what are China going to find from TikTok?
No, I think it's just getting public information from everyone else.
Credit cards and stuff. I don't know how they can get credit cards from that, but
yeah, but I guess. But you're right. Everything we do, we're just giving out information to everyone.
And TikTok's such an available platform that young kids are on it.
So it's kind of weird how I'm guilty of this as well. I was a bit skeptical of putting in my information in that kind of COVID safe app, but then I realized that people don't want to download the COVID safe app, but they're willing to give all the information to private companies like Google and Facebook, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Do you guys have the COVID safe app?
Yeah, facts. I completely agree.
Do you have COVID safe? The app?
I do.
Does it work?
I don't have it, no.
No, I don't have it either. Does it work though?
I'll give you. I'll show you.
I heard that it wasn't working. That it wasn't reporting cases.
What? Yeah.
You are safe.
So what does it do? Does it give you like a map or something?
It only tells you you're in contact with other people who have it, but they have to have the app as well.
Yeah. How many people have the app though? I mean, it's a lot of people. 2 million. Yeah.
2
How
million.
are you time we live in? All zoned out?
What?
Do you reckon it's time to?
Yeah, I reckon.
What about this? Just one thought. How long do you reckon this lockdown can go for legally? Because you can't legally lock people up for 6 months. Surely not.
It won't be 6 months.
They can, but I don't think they would.
Do you reckon it'll go longer than 6 weeks?
Surely not. People are gonna be fed up and be like, fuck this. I'm gonna do whatever I want.
Do you think 6 weeks is enough though?
Yeah,
6 weeks is too long.
Too much. Far too much. The way that he said straight away 6 weeks instead of week by week, that was come on, what's going on? It should be a week at a time we reevaluate, And it should be after a week, if only some suburbs are locked down, then others can get released.
Yeah, they just the way it's going, maybe we will need 6 weeks because it's like every day it's a couple hundred cases.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, also, like I've noticed because I work every day. I'm on the roads. The traffic's gone down, but the amount of people I've seen being pulled over by police has gone up heaps. Every
Really?
corner you see someone pulled over. So I think it's another revenue thing as well.
Are you
The
wearing a
police
face
want to make
mask?
money. When I work, I wear face mask. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't wear it out and about because face masks only work until it gets moist. Once it's moist, it's no purpose of it. So and they say you should wear face mask for a full day. Well, you can't. Within 15 minutes, the face mask gets damp and it doesn't actually serve its purpose.
Well, it depends
Unless
on the
you wear
face
the one with
mask
the
as well.
respirator. Yeah, correct. I use the respirator one, but if you just use the one the fabric one, it doesn't actually work too long. So
yeah, a good way to see if a face mask. A good way to see if a face mask works is that if you blow on your hand and you can feel the air go in your hand, means it's not working.
Yeah, correct.
That's a good way to see.
As long as you keep your distance, I suppose you'll be all right.
But people are lacking common sense in these times. You go to Chadstone and Southland, or during and everyone's on top of each other. People
I don't know. I don't blame people for going to Chadstone because you've just been locked up for however long it was. So people want to get out and do the things that they missed on. So I don't blame that. But it is a bit ridiculous. It should have been controlled. Not so many people in,
What about the protests?
Which ones?
I think time and a place for everything. That's all I'll say on that one. There's a time and a place.
Time and a place.
Yeah.
Which protests are you talking about? The anti-vaxxer protests, the anti-lockdown protests, or the Black Lives Matter ones?
All of them. All of them. They all
of them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think time and a place. That's simple as that.
Yeah. Well, thankfully that didn't really contribute a lot to the cases though.
Yeah, but there's no way.
There was a couple. But
it's like we're in the middle of a war, and what are you going to go in the middle of the battlefield and say, oh, this matters, or we shouldn't have vaccinations? You're not going to, because you're going to get shot.
Yeah.
So I think they fought fire with fire, and the fire got bigger.
Yeah, and it's not just because there was no transmissions as a result of it, still doesn't mean that it should have gone ahead. It was a ridiculous idea to have that many people protesting
in such a small area.
Oh yeah, there's that too.
It was so congested.
I didn't go to the protest. I personally wouldn't have gone. But
no, I wouldn't have gone either. But you can protest in silence as well. You can protest on your phone. You can protest anywhere. I think they could have split it up and have a few people here, 1,000 people here on different locations that would have been heard than instead of so many people in one location.
Yeah, but I get why people went, because I think there was this whole movement got re-energized, right? And they felt like this is like a one in a lifetime opportunity, because we've never seen it this big before.
I think it's just like we want to be part like America. We want to feel included.
Yeah, we just follow what America does.
That's it. We are America's bitch.
But people martyring George Floyd are wrong though, because you can't treat George Floyd as a martyr. This man,
he was the cherry on top. Like once that happened, it's like fuck, we are fed up with this shit. It can't go on anymore.
But
that was ridiculous.
He had methamphetamine in his system at the time, and he served 5 years in jail.
That's irrelevant though.
Anything though, it was over a counterfeit note. He got killed over a counterfeit note. That's irrelevant, man.
His criminal record is irrelevant because he got killed.
We can accept that it's an evil act that he did get killed, but those actions that he did in the past were leading to that consequence.
No, I disagree with that.
Oh yeah, not necessarily.
He shouldn't. The way he was treated was wrong, but
it was wrong. It was wrong. He was treated.
Yeah, he wasn't necessarily innocent. But he didn't deserve to die at the same time. But there are actual innocent people who have been killed by police for no reason. Like he didn't deserve to die. I'm not saying he did, but and just using him as a people. He got a service flag, which is too far.
It was the catalyst for it.
I don't know, but at the end of the day, it's gonna be like a point in history there where things are changing. If you understand, sort of.
Hopefully,
from here on out, everyone should see everyone's lives is just as important as each other, and everyone will think twice about. Fuck, this could be recorded, this could be on news. Like a lot of officers will be like, am I being recorded right now? And they'll think twice about their actions. So I think it's kind of a good thing that it's happened because people will think twice.
Who knows?
Yeah, only time will tell. We'll reevaluate in 10 years' time.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, like America pretty bad.
That's it. America's got their own issues. We've got our own issues, and
I don't think it's not equivalent what's happening in Australia though. To look at the
for sure not.
What's happening? How like a lot of them saying Aboriginals are treated just as badly over here, which it's not the case. That in certain communities there are cases where they're treated.
Yeah, it's different volumes. Yeah,
exactly. Like I think white
it's present.
More likely to be killed by police than Aboriginals.
That's because there's a lot more white Australians.
No, well, that's per capita, so it takes into account how many white people. So, and that's the Australian Crime Bureau. So, that's not even like a biased source. But obviously, any type of wrongdoing should be taken into account and looked at, investigated. But it's not.
Should be.
Was that?
All right. Should we leave it? Should we leave it as that? Is everyone?
Yeah, we should wrap. Yeah, we should wrap it up.
I agree.
Good talk, boys.
Good talk. Did everyone have a good time? Did everyone enjoy it? Honestly.
Great time.
We'll do it again soon.
See you on the next episode.
Yep. Next episode. We'll get some big names in there. We'll get RV Yemen.
RV Yemeni.